the election campaign is heating up. We have more than 20 candidates in the fray right now, all of them promising to take the nation to prosperity. But one candidate has perhaps the most appropriate symbol, the car. So he's going to fast track the economy on the way to prosperity, and at the same time use his volumes of experience in the area of justice to bring about transparency and a better system of government. I'm speaking to Dr. Wijeyadasa Rajapakshe, who was up to a few days ago the Minister of Justice. Welcome, Dr. Rajapakshe. It's good to have you on the show again.
Yes.
So tell us, you're now a candidate from the National Democratic Front, the NDF. What are your plans? How are you going to campaign? And is it a nationwide campaign, or are you in particular areas of the country?
This National Democratic Front, we have formed as an alliance led by Sri Lanka Freedom Party, and our campaign will be all over the island. Since the day that I declared, that is the 1st of August, I have visited more than 10 or 12 districts covering the southern province, eastern province, northern province and north central, as well as Monragala district. Now our organizational structure is there, that had been weakened for some times because of the some internal struggle of the party.
Yes, so we will get to that one as well.
But when I go to those districts, that all the people who were rather away from the activities of the party because they were really fed up with the politics, but all are now coming forward, because you cannot, although you are fed up with the politics, you cannot ignore the politics, because that is your life. All the decisions taken by the politicians are affecting the life of everybody, and people have realized it. That is how that there was a big struggle in 2022, 2 years ago, that is Aragalaya. Now that people are well informed, well educated, they know that what their rights are in a democratic government, and they will come forward, and definitely that's I am having the support than what I expected at the beginning.
Excellent. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with within the SLFP. It's all sort of fallen apart, and it's very sad to see, as a Sri Lankan, the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, which has been something that we grew up with for I think the last 60 odd years, and it is struggling right now. Tell us what the current position is, giving due regard to the fact, of course, that this matter is before court, so we mustn't say anything which is prejudicial.
It's still the Sri Lanka Freedom Party is the heart-touching party of majority of the people of Sri Lanka. SWRD Bandaranaike, a well-educated person, Oxfordian, who formed that government, had realized if we have to have a progress in this country, it is absolutely useless to go on that, that capitalistic form of government, also the leftist government too, either socialist or that Marxism, whatever they say, communism. This is a country where that's the people have been with many disciplines and with many religions. All people are religious. Therefore, that he thought that the best path is the middle way. Madhamavata, he said that this is the party which was formed on basic principles of the middle path. When it comes to economy, when it comes to foreign relations, when it comes to agriculture, everything, that was the middle path. That is why still Sri Lankans are so fond of SLFP. Unfortunately, during J.R. Jayawardena's period, he did make arrangements just to have this party scattered. Not only the party, even that Bandaranaga family was divided and scattered all over. Now of course, during the last few years there was a weak leadership commencing from Chandrika, then Mahinda Rajapakshe's whole. Although that they contested from different parties since 1994, that their vote base was SLFP.
The core was
SLFP. Now of course, when the party people realized that executive committee, the Politburo, when they realized that they cannot go like that, they need some visionary leadership. They invited, this is an exception in the history where, you know, for the party leadership people have been killed and many struggles, lot of conspiracies. Here that is very transparent and straightforward. They came and invited to be their leader. Then I accepted. They 2 times they elected me. One time that there were over 120 members of the executive committee, in the other one over 140 people. All people unanimously adopted that I should be the chairman of the party. Unfortunately, that there are a series of cases. I do not know, as a lawyer I have never experienced this kind of litigations. One after the other, I heard more than 10 or 12 cases. I am not bothered, I am not wasting a minute on these litigations, because it makes no matters for me for this election. I am continuing my election in the SLFP mechanism from top to bottom. At least 90% of the people are with me. I am going ahead. The Nimal Siripala group, less than 5 to 6 people, they say that is the SLFP. Then Dayasri Jayasekaran, Jagat Sumatipala, sorry, this Tilanga Sumatipala say they are the SLFP. But all those people are less than 10 people. Now one way I am happy with their departure, that the party is cleared. Now we have a clean membership.
I see. So looking beyond even this election, Dr. Rajapakse, do you hope to rebuild the SLFP back to where it was?
In fact, that I have already done it, not completely. My election program is aiming for 4 elections. I am going to have 10,000 candidates. Soon after the presidential election, 225 parliamentarians, over 450 provincial council members, over 8,800 local government members. I am making the full battalion at the same, you know, that effort. Now 50% I have covered now. Another 50% I will complete within next 2 weeks time.
So you are preparing for not just the presidential election, but the general election right afterwards, and then possibly the provincial council and the local government elections. Am I correct?
Correct.
Right. So it's very good to see that you are in fact on the path of or supportive of local government elections and PC elections, which have been delayed for years now.
Yeah, that's, you know, under my leadership, or even when we are having a stronghold in the parliament, I will give the assurance that nobody will be permitted to postpone the elections. Elections have to be held in terms of the constitution and the statutes. You know that how many attempts were made just to postpone this presidential election 2024 to 2025, just, you know, hanging over small, that's the mistake in the constitution in one article. How many cases were filed? Therefore, that is why early also I assured, I said that, it confirmed that if not for my presence in the cabinet, this cabinet, the people would have been deprived of an election to elect the president in 2024.
Interesting indeed. We have, I think, clarified the constitutional position on that because of the Supreme Court judgments. But could you take us through the constitutional position of that again, just to refresh our audience's minds?
I presented the 19th Amendment in 2005 during 100 days government Yahapalanaya. When we presented that bill, there were certain parties who challenged the provisions of the bill in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court made a determination. Now, in the event that you will have to extend the period of Parliament or the President, which was fixed at 6 years in the original Constitution, certainly then you are obliged to go for a referendum, just to get the approval from people in a referendum, in addition to 2/3 members in the Parliament, including those who are not present, that is at least 150. But Supreme Court categorically, at that time the Chief Justice Sri Pawan's judgment is very clear. He has held that in the event that you wanted to reduce the time period of the Parliament and the President, you need not go for a referendum, because by reducing the period, that you are enlarging the rights of the people, that you are giving more chances for the people's franchise.
That's right.
Yeah. Although that was there in that judgment determination, in 2019 also some party, one lawyer who filed some papers asking whether it is correct, it is 5 years or 6 years. And at this time also that there was a person who was brought in here by somebody who is known to you from Uzbekistan to file the case specially, just to have an extension of 1 year. When it was failed, thereafter that it was, I was surprised that lawyer also, after delivery of that judgment, a senior lawyer also filed a petition asking to declare that it is 6 years. That also rejected with a heavy cost.
Yes, indeed. So we are all systems go for the election, and hopefully it will be a smooth turn of events. Dr. Rajapakse, let's get to some of the controversial aspects here. The first one I'd like to ask you is, now you've resigned from the post of Minister of Justice, Prison Affairs and Constitutional Reforms just after announcing your candidacy. Could you tell us the reasons why?
You know that resigning from a portfolio is not something new to me. It's a usual thing in my life. As you know that I refused cabinet portfolio 6 times in my political career, and I have resigned 2 times. One time I have been expelled from the cabinet, you can remember. This time, of course, that I came to the Parliament from the votes while contesting from SLPP board to party. Then the cabinet was formed by the SLPP.
That's right.
Under the leadership of Gotabaya Rajapakse, President.
Yes.
Then 2 times I refused to be a member of his cabinet, but soon after Daragalaya, he was pleading for 1 week, asking me to take over this portfolio. In addition to that, Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe also became the Prime Minister, that he was pleading throughout entirely for a period of 1 week, asking me to join the cabinet. So finally, I thought it's my duty when the country is in the trouble. We being a politicians, that is the time that we should come forward. But before that, we did every possible attempt, asking the opposition to take over the country, saying that we had a group of 53 members. We said that we will support. But when the opposition also refused it, then this country was, anarchy. Nobody, our country was like an open without parents.
That's right, yes.
Then we took the challenge, of course. We didn't want to see the colors or their political affiliations and the parties. Who agreed that 20 ministers, we formed the government under the leadership of Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe, who were elected by us, especially that by the vote to SLPP members, 134 votes. Then we worked hard for a period of 2 years and 2 months continuously. That was the most exhaustive period in my life. I did so much of work. More than 90 laws we drafted and got passed in the parliament. Normally in the Ministry of Justice it takes about 20 years to do this much of laws, but we had to do it because there were many conditions, that compliances we had to fulfill. If we have to get the GSP concession at the beginning of January 2023,
that's correct,
then most of their compliances were legal reforms. Then when we applied for IMF support, they also gave a lengthy list of compliances. At least 80% of such compliances are legal reforms. Therefore, that we worked very hard. We were able to get this 21st amendment passed in the parliament, irrespective of the fact at times the opposition opposed, on the other occasion, at other times government opposed, with greatest difficulty, by making use of the power of the media that gave to me, by creating a mindset of the people. I was able to get the laws passed because the MPs could not go against the public opinion.
Right.
That is how I got them passed. Also anti-corruption laws, electoral expenditure law. Those are very important laws which were, the people were pleading during the last 3 to 4 decades that nobody could have done it. Then we did it. Then we were able to get the GSP plus concession for 4 years and also IMF support. That is how we did it. Of course, that it is not an exaggeration. That I can see, for us to get all this relief, at least 80% of the work that I did. But of course, the credit should go to the President and the members of the cabinet, because we collectively did it. But the work, that's the responsibility was cast upon me, and some of the bills, in fact, that I myself drafted, because of the time constraint, we had to fast track.
There were some controversial bills which went through as well, but with amendments, and I'm glad to say that some of our feedback from our programs was also incorporated in your amended bills.
Yes, that of course that there was no much controversy in my bills, except for this anti-corruption. Of course, that all the politicians were basically against, although they are against the corruption. And SJB and JVP that voted against the electoral expenditure law. I think that the controversial bill was this online safety bill.
That's
of
right.
course, that is a sole responsibility on the part of the Public Security Ministry. That's I had nothing to do in that one, except for that I gave some the input just to avoid these controversies.
Right. So let's get back to your resignation from the ministerial post.
Portfolio.
Why did you do that, and do you feel that it's the ethical thing to do?
Really, that legally there is no any obstacle. The President Ranil Wickremesinghe that discussed with me when I took over this party, and when I said that I am going to contest, he said that it's not appropriate, because I am a member of SLPP and I came to the cabinet by contesting from SLPP. If you are contesting from a different party, it is not good. I said yes, I consider it, although there is no any legal impediment as far as as politicians, disciplined politicians, as far as ethical parts are concerned. I said that will be okay. I will take a decision at the appropriate time. Accordingly, I took my decision. At the same time, I reminded him. I wrote him also the better that he should follow me, because when I decided to contest from a different party, whereas I was a member of the SLFP cabinet, after my declaration, few days after my declaration, the President also declared he also will be a candidate not from SLPP, from a different group or that independent group. I think that if he is a person that who has regards or respect to the democratic norms and principles, he also must resign. I inform him in writing on the day that I resign.
An interesting proposition indeed, Dr. Rajapaksa, but I'm afraid that that has not, perhaps it was considered, we don't know, we didn't hear about this, but now we are hearing from you, but the President continues to be the President. And of course, considering that the last President was unceremoniously thrown out of office, perhaps we do need the President to remain until the election,
Yes.
To have some continuity. We do have a lot of chaos in the meantime, but I do get your point about the ethics of it.
I never thought that just because I say, oh, that because the ethical norms and values of the democracy will do it, but as a duty I reminded him.
Right. So now coming to the post of Minister of Justice, which is a very crucial post right now with all these cases and challenges to the Constitution and everything ending up in the Supreme Court. Dr. Rajapaksa, the President has opted to take on the powers of the Minister of Justice for himself for this short period, no doubt. But how ethical is that, given that he is a candidate, and should he not have appointed another person to the cabinet, or perhaps handed over the justice portfolio to another existing minister?
That is, of course, that is a prerogative rights of the President.
Of course.
Powers is vested by virtue of the Constitution. If there is no minister on a particular subject, by operation of the Constitution, he holds the authority, President holds the authority as the Minister of Justice. But in this cabinet that I think there are another 18 or 19 ministers left, except me, all the others are there. Then there are state ministers that I cannot say exactly what the reason, only he can say it. But I believe that he has no trust on anybody else to give this responsibility.
Interesting indeed, and it's a wonder that the government continues to function with all these nuances coming in, a lot of cloak and dagger stuff behind the scenes. We never know who's going to be where tomorrow, isn't it?
Correct. Now the thing is this, the people are further fed up with this political culture. Now you look at, there was lot of allegation against SLPP government because it was full of corrupt people, and that is why these people got into the road to make an Aragalaya. But now when it closer to the election, you can see the same stuff is shifted their alliances to the present President. The earlier that old allegations were that there were all the corrupt people in the President's government, and that is how people voted for SLPP, just to send off UNP.
That's right.
The party which had 106 seats in the parliament in 2015 came down to 1 seat that is also on the national list.
Yes.
Within 5 years.
Yes.
Because of the corruption charges, allegations, the people completely assured that party should disappear from this island. But people appointed, elected the SLPP, they realized that it is worst. Now when the President says he is going to contest as an independent member, over 92 people, all those that bad stuff according to the people's thinking, all the worst stuff is all now surrounded the present existing President. Then how can people will rely on this democracy?
It's quite dizzying trying to keep track of who's where at any given time. And although 92 MPs have pledged their support to the President, there's still almost 50 days to go. And there are many who have, from the SLPP, who have publicly said that some of those 92, or many of them, might go back to the SLPP. Is that a possibility?
Definitely, if there is a slightest indication that Mr. Mahinda Rajapakshe or his camp is getting more stronger than the other groups, all the 92 people will be with Mahinda Rajapakshe. They will be shipped within 2 seconds.
But this is not a stable political culture, is it?
That is why I came forward. I want to overturn this political culture. I will make sure with my campaign in the next parliament that there won't be more than 25 members out of the existing members in the parliament who will be returned after the next general election. Therefore, that I have opened the door with the anti-corruption law and electoral regulatory law, expenditure regulatory law, just to get rid of all these rotten politicians and the rotten culture, and to get the educated people and youngsters to the parliament. That is my determination. That all I am certain that I will fulfill it. Within next few months I will do it.
We are having a fascinating conversation with Dr. Wijeyadasa Rajapakshe, a presidential candidate. We will cross over to a short commercial break right now. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Voice Teens ගායන ශිල්පිනී නදුනි යමීෂාගේ නවතම ගීතය Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube ඇතුළු ඔබගේ ප්‍රියතම සංගීත සේවාවන් හරහා රස විඳින්න.
M Entertainments.
ඒක සීරියස් වැඩක්.
වැඩේ මොකක්ද කියලා හරියටම දන්නේ නැතුව මම කොහොමද සර් හරියටම උත්තරයක් දෙන්නේ?
තෝ මේක එක්කම් බලන්න තෝගේ ගෙදර.
දැන් ඌ කිව්වහම ඔබට මේක ගෙදර අරන් යන්න කියලා ඔබ මේක ගෙදර අරන් ආවා.
තවත් කෙනෙක් වෙනුවෙන් තමන්ව පරිත්‍යාග කරන ගෑණියෙක් මම ඔය දැක්කමයි.
මගේ බලාපොරොත්තු අප්පච්චි සබ්මරින් එකක් යවන්න.
හැමදාම දේශපාලකයෝ පන්සලට රින්ගුවේ මොකක් හරි වාසියක් තකා තමයි.
මේ මැස්සා අද රාත්‍රී 9ට සිරස ටීවී තුලින්.
Voice Teens ගායන ශිල්පිනී නදුනි යමීෂාගේ නවතම ගීතය Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube ඇතුළු ඔබගේ ප්‍රියතම සංගීත සේවාවන් හරහා රස විඳින්න.
M Entertainments.
Welcome back to Face to Face. We are with Dr. Wijeyadasa Rajapakshe, President's Council, Member of Parliament, until a few days ago the Minister of Justice, and now a candidate for the presidency. Dr. Rajapakshe, let's talk a little bit about dynastic politics, family politics, which has been the bane of Sri Lanka and Sri Lankan politics for many decades now. So although your surname is Rajapakshe, you are not at all connected with the Rajapakshe family of politicians. You in fact spell your surname with S-H-E and not S-A. So quite different, not to be confused. Now give us your opinion of this family politics situation.
You know, this is a curse to this country. It's a bane. This political culture, that legal framework itself has made it in a way just to maintain the family politics intact. Now, you know, in our system, the political system is corrupt. System is corrupt, not only the people. The system itself is corrupt. Then the people are the worst, the corrupt. With the system, under this PR system, unless that you have lot of money that you can win an election. No genuine person can have a place in the parliament or any other, the local government or provincial council. You'll have to spend so much of money. But all the politicians who came to politics during last 30 to 40 years after this constitution were not people, the moneyed people, all are poor people. But within few years that they became very, very rich. Therefore, now they know the model. The model is you can rob 1,000 million. When election comes, you distribute 100 million. The profit is 900 million. That is how that the people are now existing. That is how they sustain this corrupt system. And that is why I brought lot of laws, changing the election laws. Now, when the father or mother become a politician, then they ensure the next, in the next generation, that their children will be prosper in politics. Therefore, the system helps. We will have to get rid of that politics. It doesn't mean just because the father is a politician, if there is a son or daughter that who are dedicated to serve the people, then it's okay. That is, you can't make any the blame or allegation. But here, that's very rarely we find that kind of instances in Sri Lanka. Just because father died, then the daughter become a politician. If the husband dies, the wife become politicians. That is how it happens in this country. This is a family bandism. We'll have to get rid of this system.
Well, what do other countries, like perhaps the United States, how do they manage something like this?
Their constitution is solid, and they are not bothered about the family background. Even the black person like Barack Obama, although the black population is less than 20%.
That's right.
In that people voted for him. There is no issue, because that system is very strong. Whether it is a black man or white man, it makes no matter. Whether it is a woman or man, it's not a problem. Whether it is a Republican or Democrat, it's no issue. They know within which what they can do. They cannot go beyond the system. Likewise, that the president can dissolve the parliament at any time. After 2.5 years, we put the barrier earlier, otherwise at any time after 1 year. In USA, you can't do it. Now, their country, that they have a better safeguard. Just because the parliament takes decision, it won't become a law. You have to take it to the upper house. That is a galaxy of intellects. Then that they also have to pass the law. Therefore, even if there is any blunder or mistake done by the lower house, the upper house will correct it. Can you remember that when during the Obama's period, Senate did not approve that appropriation bill. The whole government was closed.
That's right.
For 2 weeks.
Yes.
That is the power. That is to control it. Unfortunately, however much that they are learned in politics during Mrs. Bandaranaike's period, the council, which was instrumental, basically instrumental in making the new constitution, Dr. Kollinada Silva, they did the biggest blunder in this country. That is by repealing our Senate. If we had a Senate, we could have avoided many problems on these ethnic issues, language issues. If we had the Senate, in fact, that there was no possibility or there was no reason for India to get involved forcibly and ask us to bring the 13th amendment to create the provincial council, because all the people numerically they are considered as minority, but they are all full citizens, equal citizens in this country, but their rights were well looked after by the galaxy of intellects, in which their highest recognized community leaders were members of the Senate, like QC Nadesan, and people did not have any uncertainty or fear. about the legislature. But now it is not like that, because we don't have a Senate. In fact, that I have presented a cabinet paper for a Senate. In principle, cabinet agreed, but at my request, it is withheld till the next parliament, because at the eve of this election, if I try to bring that on, the people might think that I am trying to disrupt the election process. Secondly, I myself believe that this 2-3 months period is not enough to make that kind of drastic changes. At least we need 1 year period just to have a dialogue with the society.
Absolutely. I'm very happy to hear that you recommend a dialogue with society when bringing important bills and amendments to the Constitution. Now, another controversy which doesn't seem to die is the appointment of the IGP. Now, to refresh the memories of our viewers, the Supreme Court issued an order which prevented the present IGP from functioning. That had nothing to do with the election per se, but another matter. However, this came on the eve of this election, and it seemed to throw a lot of politicians into a frenzy. Would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, in fact, that with regard to the procedure adopted in giving the approval for the appointment of the IGP in the Constitutional Council is questionable.
Right.
That is why some parties had gone to the courts. The Supreme Court was convinced, prima facie, not the final judgment, prima facie, if the court is convinced that there is a serious matter to be looked into and determined by the court, depending on the nature of the injustice caused, they can issue interim orders. In this case also, that they have issued an interim order on that basis. It doesn't mean that the IGP is removed, that his substantial post, if not for IGP post, is there, but that this functioning as the IGP is suspended. Now it is obvious, when the vacancy is there or suspended for a limited period, then appointing authorities under the obligation of making an acting appointment.
That's right.
That is the ordinary law. But here this is the greater obligation and responsibility on the part of the President, because the appointing authority is the President.
Yes. Indeed.
And yes. Therefore, that you cannot keep a country without IGP even 1 day. That is the precedence that we have followed. Not only we, all over the world. Without IGP, the lives of the people are at risk. And therefore, it is a constitutional obligation on the part of the President, who has taken an oath to uphold the Constitution and to protect the Constitution. Therefore, that it's under the obligations to appoint an acting IGP forthwith. If not, he is violating his oath, he is violating the Constitution. The remedy will be impeachment. But this is not the time at the eve of the election, not a time for, there is no enough time to go through the process of an impeachment. But it's a serious matter even after he leave the office of presidency. 1 day that he will have to make some compensation for the non-performance of his duties and obligations. Likewise, that the Supreme Court have already held against some of the presidents that they have not performed their constitutional obligation, and therefore they are liable. For that also, I opened the gate under the 19th Amendment. Before that, nobody can go and file any kind of action against the President. But we opened the gate by introducing new provisions. In the event of a violation of fundamental rights, then anybody can go against the President to the Supreme Court. So we expanded that in 21st Amendment also, not only by way of a fundamental rights violation application to the Supreme Court. If he has done something wrong, as as the minister, because he can hold the ministries such as Defence Ministry and others, if he does something wrong as a minister, the people have a right to go and challenge them in the Court of Appeal by your writ applications. Writ of mandamus, writ of quo warranto, writ of mandamus and certiorari.
That's right.
All kinds of writs.
Yes. But it's common sense, isn't it? If a senior person in any organization, even in the private sector, if that person is unavailable, there should be someone else who will, just for that period, take on those duties. For example, if the IGP fell ill and were hospitalized, God forbid, then somebody else needs to take over his duties and be appointed to do so. And there are certainly so many senior DIGs who would fit the bill just for a few weeks.
That is true, in fact, that they must not take this so lightly, and they must not play fools with the lives of the people. Now, can you remember in 2016 November, I said in the parliament that there is a serious threat to the national security. There is a possibility of, that blasting suicide bombers and making this country a bloodbath.
That's right.
Then my own government, they got annoyed. That was one of the reasons as to why I was expelled when I opposed to the Hambantota port deal. And I was the member of the government in the Constitutional Council, in the first Constitutional Council. When it came up for that his appointment, that particular IGP, in fact I opposed, not because I had anything against that IGP, that person. But I realized, I explained that he is not fit enough to take over the security and the defense of the country. But unfortunately they considered that his school background, family background, and they said no, he's a royalist, he's a loyalist. They wanted to appoint. I said one day you will have to pay a heavy toll for it. After 29 months, what happened? The Easter Sunday attack took place. In fact, that the final conclusion part of that Easter Sunday Presidential Commission says all these disasters could have been avoided if the government listened to what the Minister of Justice said. What the government has done is doing nothing just to prevent it. They killed the messenger.
Now, let's get to some of your campaign promises. When can we expect to see a manifesto officially come out?
I am tentatively hoping to release it on 18th of this month. Basically, I can say the first priority is the rule of law. No purpose of talking anything else in this country unless that you uphold the rule of law. Then, of course, that economy. Without addressing the rule of law, just addressing economy is useless, absurd. And there was first rule of law, then the economy. In the economy, that there are many parts, of course, we'll have to discuss in detail. The number one is agriculture, number two is the industries, the service segment is a different one. We have a plan, short term plan for about 5 years, the long term plan for 10 years.
Okay, now when it comes to the law, the constitution, you are of course undoubtedly an expert, one of the foremost in our country, but when it comes to the economy, that is not your field. You are a President's Counsel, not a doctor of economics. So if you were to win the presidency and then go on to have your party winning in Parliament, who would you consider from your party or from those around you to take on the mantle of the finance ministry, economics, trade, investment?
That we will make in the next parliament. That we have got enough experts, the professors, doctors, other experts in many fields, like is in economics, accountancy, audits, everything. That you will have to get the service of everybody. I am not an economist, but I was a banker for 5.5 years before I became a lawyer. and I have dealt with many institutions where the economic matters are involved. But similarly, if you look at that Lee Kuan, I am not going to compare him. If you look at that Lee Kuan Yew, then he was not an economist, he was a lawyer. What he did was that he established the rule of law just to give the whole world accepted in that country that the rule of law is there. Anybody can, even today you can go with $10 million in hand from this corner to the other corner of Singapore. Nobody will come and touch it. That is the rule of law. If you create that ground by giving the guarantee the rule of law is upheld in that country, enough people will come and invest here. Even the local people don't invest because still that they don't have any guarantee that these rulers of this country is upholding the rule of law. And other things, the tax policy. Now you do not know, if you start a particular industry today, whereas you know that you have to pay out of your profits 10% to the by way of income tax, but tonight that there will be a gazette, it is increased up to 20%, then can you continue with your business? That is how all this business collapse. There has to be a proper tax policy, at least for the people to know 5 years before that in this particular year the tax policy will be that. By just changing every day, when the Treasury Secretary or the Finance Secretary says that there is a shortage of 5 billion rupees, and then the Finance Minister say, okay, increase this much from this particular item. So can you run a country like that?
Well, you can't even run a corner boutique like that, let alone a country. If the Kade Mudalali finds that his electricity bill is too high that month, he can't simply raise the price of bread or dal or whatever. It doesn't work that way. But unfortunately, that's what's happening.
It happens in our treasury.
In our treasury, in our government.
And also the other biggest issue is that the foreign exchange. Now all this international report says that over $57 billion that had been parked in other jurisdictions without bringing in here. But what is the response from the financial authorities? At least have they made an inquiry? How many times that we have raised that in the parliament?
Interesting indeed. And of course the taxation issues in this country are paramount, because at the lower end the cost of living is driven by high taxes, isn't it?
No, in fact that there are few deciding factors. One is the tax. Tax means that different kind of tax, that's tax on profits, then the VAT, and different kind of taxes are there. Withholding tax, then custom tax, custom levy also a tax. In addition to that, this financial market, that our central bank totally failed during last 20 years to tackle the financial policy. Now as it is, even there are some good entrepreneurs who are having a vision, that who are having that that's the capacity to do it. That our what is our financial policy? Now last several years that we learned a bitter lesson. Most of the people became bankrupt, that whenever there is a 1 or 2 months default of installment, the banks are going para to execution. But most pathetic part in our country is now they abuse all these powers and destroy the business community, entrepreneurs, and show in their balance sheet that they have earned 10 billion, 20 billion, 30 billion, big amounts. That our people think the banks are strong, but it is temporarily. How long can they go like that? When the business community become weakened, then in the future, what are they going to do? And you take the government policy. In the two government banks, Bank of Ceylon and People's Bank, it was reported that non-performing loan has gone up to 320 billion rupees, 620 billion rupees. Now if that money, most of the things, these are that they will waive off. But if that 600 billion had been given to our entrepreneurs, then there is no shortage of money now.
Absolutely. So it's a lot of wrong policies, wrong procedures being followed. That seems to be the order of the day, which you of course are hoping to or expecting to correct should you be elected. Now let me ask you, Dr. Rajapaksa, if you are not elected president, I presume that in a general election you would be standing for parliament again?
Definitely, that our coalition is there. Even if it is unsuccessful, but we are going to have the victory. But with all that, as you said, that if it not happen, still in the next parliament election we can guarantee we are at least getting about 50 to 60 seats in the parliament, whereas that's nobody can take decisions without our support.
And you have been a member of parliament, I believe, for the last 20 years?
20 years, yes.
Considerable amount of experience.
Yes.
And one final question, Dr. Rajapaksa, is regarding the Bar Association of Sri Lanka. You are a former president of the BASL, but right now the BASL is in the midst of its own troubles. Would you like to comment on that?
Yes, in the Bar Association, in the history of now, it has completed 50 years. In the history of Bar Association, there was no politician who wanted to become the president of the BSL, because it is an absolute, that the dream, the myth. It is impossible. But in 2012 and 13, I took the challenge, being a member of parliament representing a political party. I contested. Still my record is that I got the highest percentage of the votes, and it was the most troublesome period where there was an impeachment against the Chief Justice. Some judges were attacked, courthouses were attacked. We boycotted the courthouses for 6 days all over the country, and they came and shot at my house also. So many incidents. But one thing that I have been to every part of the country, that's over 100 of seminars, workshops, other functions, everything we did voluntarily, not at least for a fuel that we have never taken even a cent from the Bar Association. And on my own, that I have given books, donated books, my own books, worth of several millions of rupees, all these bars. That is how that we gave the leadership to the bar. I have made more than 200 juniors from my chamber. Some are judges, some are President's Council. So I am quite happy the way that we did it, but unfortunately the allegations that has come up against the Bar Association is very pathetic, and it's a black mark on the entire profession.
Indeed, and we hope that situation would be cleared up as soon as possible. After all, the Bar Association is an extremely important institution to the country, and especially during the time of the Aragalaya, when chaos threatened the entire country, and we didn't know who would be running the government tomorrow. The Bar Association was a calming influence in many ways. Now what next, Dr. Rajapaksa? You mentioned that you have been campaigning in several regions of the country. Do you intend to continue this?
Yes, I am in another 1 or 2 days time again that I am continuing. Thereafter that I am going all over the country to each and every electorate, 160 electorates in the second round. In addition to that, I have appointed most of my organizers in all the strata at different levels, just to take my message and the leaflet to each and every house, and also my media campaign also I will start in few days time.
Excellent, and good luck to you. Thank you very much, Dr. Wijeyadasa Rajapakshe, President's Council, Member of Parliament and Minister of Justice until a few days back, and now presidential candidate. Thank you very much for spending the time with us this evening.
Thank you very much for giving this opportunity in your channel, prestigious channel.
Thank you. And to you at home, don't go away. The news is coming up right after this. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.